What's going on, guys? This is the 5 Year Bus podcast with me, Suddy. This is Shyam, bringing you another episode of our 21-22 Premier League season preview, team by team. So we're going straight to Shyam's. Shyam's a closet Leeds fan, for those who don't know. And he's come out of the closet recently, and we're talking about Leeds today, Shyam.
We're talking about the team I've always supported, Leeds United.
We've both looked at the stats. They have the best post promotion season ever, besides Ipswich, who I remember you were a fan of Ipswich. No, we're not a fan, but you kind of had a soft spot for Ipswich back in the day. It's very much the Aussie in you, if you know. Yeah. So talk us through Leeds, man. Talk us through what they did last season, how remarkable it was to even get there. Well, it wasn't. Was it remarkable to get there? I don't know, but what they did in the season was remarkable. And talk us through the real daddy, Marco Bielsa.
Yeah, I mean, even when I was younger, because I think Leeds had Viduka and Kuehl, so I was always watching Leeds United games. It's probably hard for people in Manchester to figure out why someone supports United would also support Leeds, but we all have our reasons, I guess. When your best players for your country are playing for that team, you follow them. But like you said, ninth after getting promoted is a stellar achievement. It's been done very few times in the history of the league, so they deserve massive credit for that. They were equal sixth in terms of goals scored, so 62 goals, and quite evenly spread across the team as well. There was some obvious stars, but they had quite a bit of depth in terms of goals scored. Bamford, Stuart Dallas, Rafinha, Rodrigo, Harrison as well. So that there were players that actually got quite a few goals. So it was a spread and it wasn't relying on one guy. But Bamford with 17 goals stands out. The unfortunate thing was the conceding 54. And a lot of those were from set pieces, and it cost them a few points. They, I think, 3 set piece goals in the opening day against Liverpool was probably the example I remember the most, because they lost that game 4-3, so they could have won that quite easily and caught Liverpool on the hop. But it's a lot of goals for a team that's got players, continuity of players, and they're not like Uniteds and Chelseas and Cities that do a lot of rotation. So it's the same group of players. So it's way too many. And they need to really clamp down on that. I think the idea of, I'd sort of made a comment to you once about Arsenal playing with a philosophy and not really playing to reality, where you sometimes win games 1-0 with a set piece. And you wonder if Leeds United are sort of falling into that trap as well. Bielsa's done an incredible job with Leeds, and he's looking to push forward with some of the players coming in and the things that he's doing. But until you resolve that, I don't think there's that much higher that they can go.
For me, what stuck out for me in Leeds, in a team that's come up, because you see this often with teams that win, is that I think every player in Leeds takes more responsibility than the typical player. Every player plays for each other, which is, I mean, look, most teams do that, but you could see it way more. And it obviously comes down to the training, the famous murder ball, when it's no holds bars for 5 to 7 minutes, which is a long time when there's no outs in football. 5 to 7 is a long time of high intensity in a small pitch. And I like the way they have a philosophy of working for each other. And it's a better version of that siege mentality that Mourinho brings, most notably to his first Chelsea side. Can I just ask you, talk about the ins and outs? We'll talk about this first. 5 draws they've had in the league last year. Why lowest in the league? What does that say to you?
It tells me that they back themselves to have a go, and they don't settle for what they have. And you talked a lot about players taking responsibility and being progressive, so that they're always willing to have a go. And the best example is probably Calvin Phillips from the Euros. You could see he was trying to drive the team forward, and the team, I think, got a lift from his example. He wasn't England's best player at the Euros, but I think that the team picked up some of his enterprise and the way that he went about it. So the fact that they had those few draws, to me, indicates that. I do think they've made a couple of quite shrewd signings. Harrison's now, you mentioned it before, he's become a permanent signing from City. He was on loan last season. 8 goals, 8 assists last season. So great work from him. They got in Barcelona's left back, the Junior Firpo. I don't know how to pronounce it, sorry. Which was a great pickup, because that was probably their one weakness. They had that fella Alioski playing, I think he's from North Macedonia. The fact that he wore number 10 and played left back, I think, tells me all I need to know. He just seemed out of place, and it was quite a weak spot for them. So I think going and getting a quality left back, I think will help them quite a bit.
Just
I'm,
pause there since we're on the topic of left backs. Firpo is he's about 6'2", 6'3". He's from the Dominican Republic. He's very, very classy and very athletic.
yeah.
So just to continue with that, sorry.
So is he classy and athletic or classy and athletic? Yeah.
Classy. He plays left and center back as well. Very, very quick, very tall. So
Yeah.
you're
Well,
getting a good player
if
in
you are
that.
a Barcelona player, you're good. And I think
Yeah.
that Leeds have
Both. Yeah. Yeah. Fair
they've
enough.
done a little quiet one there. A lot of teams would
Yeah.
be eyeing off Barcelona players. Who can we get in
Yeah.
to take advantage of Barcelona's situation? Leeds have actually pulled one off. So all
Yeah.
credit to
Yeah.
them. And they've pretended to give Barcelona a bit of flexibility in terms of being a loan deal. So Barcelona don't
Yeah.
lose face as well, which is good.
Hmm.
I think they need a bit more leadership in defense and in goals. I think that will help. Maybe Firpo can help with that. But I'd
Hmm.
like to see some of those players be a bit more comfortable. I do
Hmm.
think that they do start off with some quite hard fixtures at home. They've got
Hmm.
Everton, Liverpool, and West Ham. So all
Hmm.
teams that Everton were just below them, but having those games at home puts a lot of pressure on you to get results away. And they've
Hmm.
got United on the opening day. They've got Burnley, Newcastle. So it's one of the more difficult starts to a season.
Hmm. Yeah.
But the fact that not a lot of their players went to Euros, they'll be rested, they'll be fit as anything. I
Hmm.
do think that the home games are key for them to show that they've got the ability to move up the table. If they sort of end up in the middle of the table after this, that's probably where they're going to be at the end of the season. But if they can get off to a cracker of a start,
Hmm.
then it will show that they've got what it takes. But United and Liverpool in your first 6 games or in your first 4 games, that's a tough
Hmm.
start.
Yeah. And who'd be the more key players? You mentioned Harrison now on a permanent deal. You mentioned the left back. I mean, surely for me, I love Bamford. I think he's a very much Dennis Bergkamp-esque player, lightning slow. I think that's the term they use these days. But for you, who do you think the key players are to drive them more? Again, like a Villa to push them into their Europa League positions.
Their big three is for me Bamford, Calvin Phillips, and Rafinha. Rafinha actually had a really good season.
He did, yeah.
But he had a slow start as well, which happens when
Mm-hmm.
players come from overseas. But he will now have experience of playing in England, and I really expect him
Mm-hmm.
to kick on. The
Mm-hmm.
other one I think to keep an eye on is their goalkeeper, Meslier.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know this until I was looking the team up, but he's 21. He looks older.
Oh,
Um,
I didn't realize.
21 years old, and he's French, so he's good. But
Yeah.
if he can, he's got that season in the Premier League now. He wasn't particularly great or particularly bad, but if he's got the ability to push on, and Bielsa is the type of manager where he'll look, you show him 10 plays, he picks one, and he picks that one for a specific reason to bring that one into the club. So
Mm-hmm.
you would think that Meslier has something that Bielsa likes. So I think there's a bit on him to really step up and create that improvement in the team. I think how their defense goes is going to define a lot of their season. And like I said, too many goals to set pieces. If they can clean that up, there's definite ability for them to make progress.
I have a big question for you though. Will Leeds go through second season syndrome?
I don't think so. I don't think
Yeah.
so. And the reason is that they look. It's easy to say that Leeds shouldn't have got relegated because they were in the second division for 17 years, or in the lower divisions
Mm-hmm.
for 17 years. But
Mm-hmm.
I do think that their best players are playing international football,
Mm-hmm.
and like guys like Phillips, guys like Firpo, they have Craig Cooper play for Scotland at the Euros. Not a
Mm-hmm.
lot of teams that get promoted have a lot of players that go and play international football. So there's a
Mm-hmm.
bit more about them than a typical promoted team. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that will protect them. I actually do expect them to kick on. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think that they'll seriously challenge for a European spot. They'll need things to go their way to get in, but they have the ability for me to get into Europe. I don't know if that's a good thing for a team that plays the way that they do, but
Mm-hmm.
that
I
they
mean,
will absolutely love to getting into Europe.
they'll be, if they were to reach the Europa and maybe in a few years' time potentially get a Champions League spot, there'll be a big spanner in the works for any Champions League team. I can see them. You could see them going and taking a result at the Allianz Arena the way they play. Maybe in
Oh
the
yeah,
first leg, maybe the second leg. You can because no team would be used to that, And you can see it complete backfires in them. I mean, United versus Leeds 6-2 was a great result, great example. Sorry, where it just completely backfired, but they just backed themselves. They just kept going because they all take responsibility for the loss and then just keep going forward. I have one last question, Sham.
You could almost see them playing a two-legged game against like Bayern Munich and then winning 2-1 in Munich and then getting smacked 7-1 at home.
Getting 6-0, yeah, because they know what to do. Exactly.
Yeah, but they're the type of team that could just rattle anybody because they have such unique style. And they seem, because Bielsa has this methodology, but the players have bought into it as much as anywhere else that he's played. Like he tried this in Argentina, it didn't really work.
Marseille as well, it didn't really work. Yeah,
Marseille, but players like Bilbao work quite well. So, but these Leeds players really seem, and I think the idea of playing a high tempo, aggressive football suits English mentality.
Sorry, one last question. You mentioned that a few days ago, I think over text. You said Navas or Henderson going to Leeds. I actually like that Navas idea very much. Navas has to be the most disrespected player in football. 3 or 4 Champions Leagues, multiple league titles, multiple Copa del Reys, French FA Cup. Sorry, they still want to get rid of him, and he won't play this year.
His teammates were furious. These Real Madrid teammates were furious when they bought Courtois in. Courtois done really well, but they were like, "This is disrespect to Navas to bring him in," and as well without the fact that they've gone and bought probably PSG in their defense. They've gone and bought the best keeper in world football on a free, so you can understand anyone else being put on the bench, but. I get the feeling as an Australian who loves football, because he's Costa Rican, he doesn't get the respect. If he was Argentinian or if he was Spanish, he'd be treated a lot differently, I think.
Yeah,
I think it's that small country. He took Costa Rica to the quarterfinals of the World Cup. They got out of a group that had England, Uruguay, and Italy. Yeah, and they got out of that group and they lost on penalties. So I mean, in the quarterfinals to Netherlands, I think. So
we've mentioned Navas multiple times on this show, and I think the opinion doesn't change. Massively disrespected.
I think they should, if they can, get him on a loan deal and just bring him in. Groom Meslier. He provides leadership. He's Spanish, so he'll get on with Bielsa and the coaching staff. Like it'd be a massive opportunity for Leeds, I think, to do that. And Navas seems to me to be someone who, because he's disrespected, he would love a bit of respect, and he'd come to Leeds as a 4-time Champions League winner. Coming from a club like PSG, he'd get that respect.
But he might, so we're banging on about Navas, but he might give what Van der Sar gave to United to Leeds. Yeah, with that aura, with that leadership, with a bit of calmness, and just knows how to win.
He's in that stage of his career as well. He's 34, so he can. He's still in his goalkeeper peak years. And could offer something. I don't think they necessarily have to go and buy him now. It might be a loan with an option to buy. PSG might be quite happy for him to go on a deal, given that they've got Donnarumma in.
All right, perfect. Any closing thoughts on Leeds, Sham?
Not other than I'm very excited to see what they can do, because I think I do think they'll push on. I think if they could nick 7th if they're lucky. At the same time, like you said, it could all implode. I don't think it will, but can't really be surprised at how Leeds play, because they're that classic casino double up every time type of team. So anything could happen, but I do think it'll be a good season for them.
Perfect. But great chat as always, Sham. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The 5-Year Pass. We are the 5-Year Pass. My name is Suddy. This is Shyam. Keep football simple, and as always,
keep passing, guys. Cheers.